On this episode of Where's the Line, me and Joseph are going to recap Tennessee, Georgia, and look ahead to Tennessee, Vanderbilt. This is episode number 107. Let's get into it.
You are now listening to the Where's the Line podcast with Joseph West and Britt Dillard. Enjoy the show.
Milton gonna take a shot wide open and just strutting in is Keaton. Joe Milton does it again.
Borgie again on a blitz. Levis pocket collapses. He's on the run. He just heaves it up. And it's intercepted by Vanderbilt. And let the celebration begin. The streak is over at 26. The Commodores win it.
Talk about Vanderbilt football.
Deep right, and Tennessee walks it off. Pandemonium in Knoxville. Center field, DeMarco. There to make the catch. Anchored down. Vanderbilt on top of the college baseball world again.
That's all I gotta say, and you're going to hell. Bye.
Another edition of Where's the Line. It is Tuesday, November 21st. This is episode number 107. My name is Britt Dillard. Joined here by Joseph West. How are you today?
I am here, to say the least. Actually, that would be saying the most. Yeah, not a great week so far. It is the week of Thanksgiving, though, so we will be thankful. Britt, how are you?
I'm good. It's good to hear your voice. I'm also here.
Good to hear your voice.
Not to brag, I'm done with work this week. Shout out brother Joseph Biden. My second favorite Joseph Biden. Just ahead of
If
Stalin.
I was behind,
Just
if
ahead
I
of
was
Stalin.
behind Joseph Biden, it'd be bad.
Well, I was pausing there because I don't know if I have any other Josephs in my life that I should be that would be offended by that statement. I think I'm
They
good,
won't.
but no, I'm happy to be here. Happy to be recording. We're going into Rivalry week. College football is, for a lot of teams, it's almost over. Well, for every
Very
team, it's
true.
almost over. But for some teams, this is it. This is it. One of those teams being Vanderbilt, unfortunately. It's sad. It's a sad time. But let's get into the painful. This podcast is gonna suck. I'm just gonna come out and say it. This podcast is gonna be doo doo.
This podcast is not going to suck. It's just, it's not going to be, like, it's not going to wow. We're not going to wow you. They're going to talk about pretty much what we've been talking about. And
Unless it just takes a crazy turn and we, for some reason, start talking smack to each other.
And that could happen because I do have some things to say.
It could happen, but Tennessee got how do I say it? Tennessee got beat in football
Murdered.
Saturday, 38-10 against the number one ranked Georgia Bulldogs in Neyland Stadium. I'll say a positive thing first. Probably the only positive thing I'll say. People showed out. The fans showed up to the game. There was a good number of Georgia fans there, but I mean, it wasn't any more than Texas A&M or any other team would have brought. But the fans showed
They
out.
brought, for someone who isn't in England every weekend, I thought they brought more fans than I was expecting. I will say that.
It was, I mean, the visitor sections were full, and then it was dotted around the stadium, but it was probably 82-18, I would say.
Yeah,
Tennessee.
yeah, I know. I would say that's really fair. I would say that's super fair. Super fair number. Georgia does travel well, though, and we're not far. You're a 4-hour drive. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're fine. Like, you can make that easy dub.
Yeah, and if you're the number
So,
one team in the country, I'm traveling.
oh
I mean,
yeah.
I didn't last year when Tennessee was, but
I'm
um,
100% traveling. If we've won back-to-back natties, I'm traveling.
yeah. But first play of the game, Jalen Wright broke off a big 80-yard run. It was loud.
Pause.
It was loud.
Yes. I was in attendance. And I will not give UT any credit on this podcast this whole entire night because I hate Tennessee. And Tennessee, everything about them sucks, including their fans. Even some of my good friends are UT fans. Right now, this week, y'all suck. But there was roughly, there was maybe 10,000 Georgia fans there. Maybe more than that. There was 18,000 Georgia fans there. We said 18%. They hold 100,000. 18,000 Georgia fans there. The 82,000 UT fans that were there, I guess 81,999 because I know I'm not one. So make it one less. We're going berserk on that touchdown. I've never heard anything like it in my life. It was wild. I couldn't hear out of either one of my ears. Now they said there was like 139 decibels. So if you weren't there, you don't even know what I'm talking about. Like you can be like, yeah, you've been to a loud sporting event, dude. No. This individual moment was so loud that like Donald Davis, I was sitting with him. Shout out Donald. I know he's going to listen to this. He was so excited. He picked me up from my shirt like this, if you're watching, and just started shaking me. Well, like me being a good friend, no, I was actually preying on UT's downfall. I think most of you would assume. I was jumping up and down with him, just started screaming, just because of how loud it was. That was crazy. It was crazy. It just was. It was crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, me and the guy I was with, I mean, we're at every game. I mean, this is our second year with tickets. We were there at Alabama when it was loud. We looked at each other. I think it was when we were about to kick the field goal or the extra point, and we were like, holy crap. Like, it is freaking loud in here. And Tennessee fans were faced with a decision last week. You don't have anything to play for anymore. The ticket prices are outrageous. Do you just sell? I mean, I thought about it. Do you just sell the tickets and watch it at home? So the people that were at the game are devoted. They're devoted. And the stars came out. I mean, there was a ton of recruits there. There was Theo Vaughn was on the sideline. People
Max
were at
Scherzer was in the house.
Yeah.
Our
He's
Queen
good
Dolly.
friends with Tony Vitello. So I guess that's why he was there.
Is that why he's there?
That's really the only positive thing. We can talk about Dolly for a second.
Yeah. Dolly is when you see Dolly, her radiant glow gives an automatic dub.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the equipment in Neyland Stadium wasn't very good.
The sound system kind of sucked. I will not lie.
I felt very bad for her. I was very embarrassed.
You could tell
for her.
she couldn't hear anything. You could tell. All she could hear was everyone screaming, and the band was trying to play Rocky Top. She couldn't hear it. I mean, I didn't want to hear her sing Rocky Top anyways, but everyone else there did. So, I mean, come on.
But, I mean, whoever put that together, like,
dumb.
just let her go out there and sing. Let her sing Jolene.
Yeah, we don't care what she sings.
Let her sing Coat of Many Colors. Let her, I don't know, just like, don't
let
make
her
follow the band. Yeah, that place would have been awesome.
If she would have started singing 9 to 5, Neyland may have been louder in that moment than when they scored the first touchdown.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
I mean, 9 to 5 is just legendary. Like, we hate the rich man, okay? All right, we're so off topic. That's okay, though. Not like this episode is packed. I will say, trying to guide us back in. There was not a lot of positives at UT, Georgia. But here's what I have to say, though. I want every UT fan to take a deep breath and open their mind for 1 second, okay? Open your mind, and I want you to hear what I'm going to say and think about it. Because it's going to make you feel better in the end. Not right now, because you're going to want to throw up for a minute. But then in the end, it's going to make you feel better. There is a huge gap, between Tennessee and Georgia. Who they have, guy in and guy out, on the bench, it's huge. The gap from Tennessee to Georgia, this is the part that I said might make you throw up, is bigger than the gap from Vanderbilt to the pack of the SEC, to the middle pack of the SEC. And that's a huge gap, too. But the
Yes.
gap is even bigger, Tennessee to Georgia. Okay? I say that, preface it, by saying that Tennessee, they didn't have any business winning this game. So, like, I get it, you're defeated, you got trounced, you got dominated outside of the first play. You got dominated from basically snap to snap. But it's not the end of the world. Okay? It's just not. All right, Britt, continue.
Yeah, Tennessee, they had a lot of injuries going into the game in the secondary on the offensive line. When they were reading the starters for the offensive line and you see Ollie Lane and Dane Davis starting, that's terrifying. You're playing Georgia and you're counting on those guys to block. So it really exposed Tennessee's lack of recruiting on the offensive line, and especially in the secondary. I mean, what Jordan Thomas goes in the first quarter, and you've got a walk on Will Brooks trying to cover Brock Bowers all night, and he did a good job, considering he did a fine job. But it was just really the light was shown on the lack of development, especially in the secondary. They're so poorly coached, and I don't want to say that we haven't recruited that position well, because we have. Last year we did, but you don't see the young guys on the field. So those were two big things that really stuck out, as just injuries and lack of depth, and the gap is huge.
Yeah.
Like Georgia, Brock Bowers came out of the game. His backup had over 100 receiving yards.
Yeah.
But we would just slip back into our soft zone, and he was just picking us apart. He was just absolutely destroying us. Yeah.
Tennessee, they still have made huge strides. Remember that you're ahead of schedule too. Remember that you are ahead of schedule. Heupel was not supposed to go 10-2 last year. I mean, you can argue. He wasn't even supposed to go 9-3 last year. Being honest, that wasn't like I'm pretty sure in the podcast opening last year, Britt said he predicted UT to go 8-4. Like when you look at it, he went 10-2 in year two. I question a lot of his stuff, a lot of the stuff that he does, the way that he coached the game, which is what I say all that to say. I do question the way that he coached the game. I thought he played a really not to lose that bad, not to get embarrassed type of game plan.
Yeah,
And
when you're kicking field goals down by 4 touchdowns, when you're kicking a 50+ yard field goal, and he did the same thing against Missouri. That's just such a Butch Jones. That's just a loser.
yeah,
It's a loser. Like
I
we didn't
wanna
see
know,
Josh Heupel
like-
do that last year.
yeah, I want to know. So, like, Josh Heupel, same guy. Remember, this is the same guy that let it slide or called the play. I won't say he called it, but he at least let it slide. He knew it was coming. When you're up by 40 against Missouri and there's a minute left and you throw a bomb to the 1 yard line with Joe Milton, like that guy, he didn't care. I don't personally know if that's the right play. I think it just puts a target on your back for the future, but it doesn't matter. He put his nuts on the table. I mean, that's the only way to say it. He put his nuts on the table. Now he's covering them and hiding. He don't even have them.
It's crazy that he tried to get his backup quarterback reps last year in garbage time. But we saw again that if Tennessee is not able to run the ball outside of the first play of the game, they're not going to win. It's not going to happen, especially with that offensive line. I'm going to go into not a monologue, but just a brief overview of what I think. Because Tennessee doesn't have if we're being honest, Tennessee doesn't have a quarterback at all. And so I'm choosing to look at this year, at 2023, as an anomaly. And this is me choosing joy. This is me being ultra positive, and so I don't try to kill myself after this season. I'm choosing to think that Nico is not ready, or they just want him to get experience in the well, not experience. They want him to learn the offense and put on weight. Some people, it's literally gotten so ridiculous that some people think Nico's parents wanted him to redshirt, and they told Josh not to play him, which that is utterly insane. I'm choosing to believe that this is an outlier year. When you look at Josh Heupel's numbers as a head coach, this is the worst offense he's put out by every metric, by yards per game, by touchdowns per game, total touchdowns. We've scored 16 touchdowns total in 7 SEC games. 16 touchdowns in 7 games. That is horrible. That is absolutely terrible. Joe Milton's the worst quarterback that Josh Heupel's had. That's not coming from me. That's statistically, he's the worst quarterback Josh Heupel has started. And it's not because the offensive line is bad. Our offensive line is on watch list. We have the best, well, we had the best rushing team in the SEC. It's not the offensive line's fault. Your receivers have taken a step back. The talent is there in the receiver room, but they have not executed well this year. You didn't get what you wanted out of Dante Thornton. You didn't use Squirrel White properly. And that's why I'm wanting to take the standpoint that our play calling has taken a step back because we don't have a quarterback. I don't think Josh Heupel all of a sudden has forgot how to coach offense. Because, I mean, this is his 6 years a head coach. I don't think all of a sudden he's just forgotten how to coach. I refuse to believe that. Now, Alex Golesh has been there the other 5 years. So that's maybe something to look into. But I'm choosing to take a joyful approach to this.
Joyful approach from Britt. You could definitely be less joyful with the overall take. I mean, I think it's a very real possibility that Nico wasn't ready. You question a lot of stuff, the talent that Nico played against. Just there's so much growing to get to be a true freshman SEC quarterback. I don't think that's a far-fetched take at all. I think that's probably the truth. Now you just, you're going to bring in someone else, hope he pans out next year, or, if you bring in another quarterback who compete with him, that'll play itself out. But Heupel definitely questionable as a coach right now. Some of his in-game decisions, Tennessee team's just not ready. Joe Milton is who we thought he was, Mr. Inconsistent. Tennessee got drummed. I mean, that's the only way to really talk. This recap is going to be pretty simple, or this recap for the Georgia-Tennessee game and then breakdown will be pretty simple. UT just got dominated. I mean, that's pretty simple. And then the next game we're going to preview it's going to be pretty much one sentence, just like that. This is the best. I was rambling, but yeah, it's going to be one sentence. I mean, that's as easy as it gets.
There are some talking points I want to touch on. A lot of people, and Josh Heupel came out and said that Nico didn't play against Georgia so he could redshirt. I'm not confident that we see Nico that much. Like, I think Joe Milton is going to start against Vanderbilt. It's senior day. He's going to start. How much he plays, I don't know. I think he should play a quarter and be done. If it's up to me, Joe Milton plays a quarter, and then Joe, we salute you. Genuinely, thank you for putting time in. It's not your fault that you suck, and we keep putting you out there. And then you just see Nico. But a lot of people are saying Joe's going to opt out of the bowl game. 5th round or 6th round picks do not opt out of the bowl game.
No.
Joe Milton's got to come out and look good if he wants to get drafted. So he's not going to opt out of the bowl game. Now, whether or not Josh plays him or not, I don't know. And there's another narrative. What was the other narrative I wanted to touch on? Oh, yeah, Tim Banks. People have been crapping on Tim Banks all year after he made a lot of improvements from last year. Like, Tim Banks, he's not the reason you lost to Florida. He's not the reason you lost to Alabama. You couldn't score. He's not the reason you lost to Missouri. You couldn't score. Now, the Georgia game doesn't count because you're playing Georgia. But Tim Banks isn't the reason we lost 4 games this year. Willie Martinez has to go. I would honestly fire everybody but Tim Banks and Rodney Garner. Just get everybody else out. But the narrative that the defense has lost us these games and that Joe Milton has been fine are pretty interesting. Pretty interesting.
I mean, Joe Milton has definitely not been fine. Joe Milton is a problem. The defense is also can be a problem, which I'll get into.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not an awesome defense, but they're a lot better than we've seen the last 2 years.
Yes, 100%. 100%. That's all. Tennessee, Georgia. Let's just go ahead and get into the Vanderbilt game. Also, the score of that game was Georgia 38, Tennessee 10. I don't know if we ever said that. Vanderbilt Tennessee rivalry week. This Saturday in Knoxville. 2:30 kickoff, I believe. 2:30 kickoff.
Central.
There's a lot of things I could say to start. Listen, I could sit here and I could say this UT team is not good because I don't believe that they are. And I could tell you that I believe that Vanderbilt has a chance to win. But, newsflash, Joey Lynch and Nick Howell have both been fired. Okay? Fired. They're done. They're donezo. They know it. They've been fired. They're done. Okay? They know they've been fired. If you
Is that
watch
real?
this team go, this is real. This is real news. This is real news. They have been fired.
Okay.
I've been known, or
Is
I've
that
been
breaking
told.
news?
Yeah, kind of. We'll say breaking news. Breaking news, if you didn't know. Those two bozos are out of Nashville when this season ends. Okay? We do not care about them. We don't care about these bozos. And also, if you're one of those guys who are like, what about their family? Dude, they made over $700,000 last year. If they don't have money, live under a bridge. That's on them. I don't feel bad. Okay?
I'm
They
gonna
made
take
a
my
lot of
jacket
money
off.
last year. Get your jacket off. These bozos are gone. If you've watched this team the last 2 weeks, you know they don't do anything fun, productive, or anything. They suck. They've melted in. They're done. Now, this guy has bought a T-shirt, and he's gonna make me get hateful on this podcast. I feel it coming. We'll save that for a second. He hasn't bought a shirt though. I seen a dude wearing that in Elon on Saturday.
I made
really
this.
simple. It's really simple. If someone like me that obviously knew more football than I do could just coach his team and care as much as I do, we'd have a chance at beating Tennessee. I truly believe that. They don't, and we won't. And that's my opening thoughts. We don't, we can't, we won't.
Yeah, like if Vanderbilt was coached by Derek Mason, it would be different.
He owned UT. I would agree.
Well, not even that, but like he can rally the boys.
He did know how to rally the boys at times. At times
He will
did.
be at the game.
He will be announced at the game. That's the reason we have a shot, actually. Derek Mason in England, that was a dub. That was a dub during my time. So shout out D Mays, which I guess he really only did it in 17. So I really can't say that. But he did. My bad. Yeah, I really can't say that. But still, the one time I was there for Derek Mason in England, he got the dub. So Derek Mason, thank you. Also, speaking of Derek Mason, if I can rant, everybody crapped on Derek Mason. Everybody crapped on him. Everyone destroyed him. I got something to say. Derek Mason in year 3, his teams were not this non-competitive. Derek Mason's teams, they competed. They took Notre Dame to the wire. They took a really good Auburn team, I think that was in 16, to the wire. They beat a top 16 ranked Tennessee team in 2016. This Clark Lee team is such a failure. Such a failure. I'll have to get into that next week when we give our grades. We give our preseason grades, give our final grades. But yeah, can't get into that too much. Britt, opening thoughts, man. Opening thoughts.
I literally have one note for this game, and it's let Joe play one quarter, then it's time.
Yeah, I do not think that will happen. There is no chance.
I don't either. No. And what is going to really piss me off? I don't think this is going to, pardon my language, I'm sorry. But what's really going to, I can't say that either. What's really going to make me angry is, and I don't think this will happen, but if Nico comes out and is bad, people are going to come at me for saying that he should have played this year. And that's such a smooth brain opinion. Because if you played him this year, you would know that he sucks and you could bring in a transfer. And I think you need to bring in a transfer anyways. I think if they don't, it's malpractice. It's malpractice. If you don't bring in a transfer like Tyler Buckner, the guy Alabama got this year, a guy similar to that, then golly, this guy's dumber than I think he is.
They're not bringing their. They're not.
I mean, what? I mean, if you don't, you've got a true freshman, Jake Merklinger. We don't know who he is. He's a 4-star, and Gaston Moore.
You're gonna have another true freshman.
You think we're getting that guy?
I do. I do think you're
What's
getting that guy. George McIntyre.
McIntyre?
I do. I have been told. I have foreseen Tennessee has the edge. Has the edge
but
as of thing.
I mean, if you're Jordan McIntyre, why would you come to Tennessee? You're not going to get a shot.
He'll come and take Nico's job in day one. He's that good. Like I feel confident saying that right now. Like, and I'm only watching play against people that he plays with at Brentwood Academy, but I feel very confident in saying that.
Well, according to half the people in this fan base, Nico is a delicate flower who isn't good anyways. So,
I mean, Nico is, first of all, obviously really talented, has his question marks, sure, but I mean, yeah, like I just think that if he was anywhere close to ready, that Josh would have rolled the dice with the true freshman quarterback. Because
I truly would like to think that.
Then you have the excuse of why your season went bad. You have a true freshman quarterback. That's the ultimate scapegoat. Like, that's why if he was anywhere close to ready, I truly think any coach coming off 10-2 starts him.
And here's where you're going wrong, Joseph. You're thinking logically.
I mean, coaches seem to go, they're too close.
A logical person would have seen Hendon Hooker and started him over Joe Milton. But we know how that turned out.
Hey,
we know how that turned out.
If that is the case, and it's just Heupel fell in love with the same thing that you did, watching Joe Milton warm up.
It's so easy to.
I try to tell you. I try to let him know in the preseason.
But on Saturday, we're going to have a parade of roses for Joe Milton, when that should have happened in 2021 when he got hurt against Pittsburgh. That should have been the last time we saw Joe Milton in orange. Should have been.
Not a horrific take, I don't think. But okay, listen, enough Joe Milton.
No, hold on. I want to give him some credit. I want to give Joe Milton some credit. For the most part, those freebies, like all those long balls against Pitt that he missed every single one of them, he's gotten better. He's hit those. But, like, look around the league. Look how much better Jaden Daniels is this year. Jaden Daniels is so good. Look at Michael Penix. It took him as long as Joe Milton. He's really good. Bo Nix, he's really good. Joe has improved, but he went from a 2 out of 10 to a 4 out of 10. So I do want to give him credit. He's worked on it, but he's just not good. He's terrible.
Yeah. Going into more of a breakdown here, I would like to say that Vanderbilt has a shot once again. But when you look at this defense is bottom 10 in the country in every statistical category but one, and they're bottom 16 in it. I'm not going to go through all of them. Look it up if you don't believe me. Vanderbilt, there's 133 teams in FBS. Vanderbilt is bottom 10, I'm going to say it one more time, in every statistical category. Every single defensive statistical category, we are bottom 10 except for one, and we're bottom 16. That puts you at 123 or worse. Every category except one where you're 116. They suck. This defense sucks. Clark Lee is some defensive mastermind. His defense sucks. It's terrible. It's trash. And the offense is not any better. The offense is worse. The only reason I'm doing this is because I listened to TDR shout out the Door Report, and they were really talking about how they talked about the offense a lot and were wanting to talk about the defense, and they read off that. And that's unbelievable. I truly couldn't believe it. The defense deserves to get crapped on. Defense sucks. Clark Lee sucks. Vanderbilt has a chance in this game if one thing happens. And this weekend, or 2 weekends ago, I guess. No, I'm sorry. It was 2 weekends ago, because we had a bye week. Vanderbilt took on South Carolina. Vanderbilt got destroyed. We went over that. And Clark Lee made a quote in his post-game presser. That was something along the lines of, "We are just grateful for Ken," paraphrasing here, I'm not getting it word for word. "We are grateful for Ken because he gives us the opportunity to punt." To punt. Everyone knows you score a lot of points by punting, Clark, and you do have to score to win, which is crazy. Anyways, the point is that I've heard that the boosters were very unhappy. Finally, they're awake. They're finally awake. They finally care about something. They are unhappy with Clark's comments, and so that has kind of shook up the room. The room does not know how to act. With that being said, AJ Swan is going to come back this weekend and start against the Tennessee Vols. I think I'm going to go ahead and say it on this podcast because why not? If I'm wrong, I took a shot in the dark. If he does, and Vanderbilt pushes the ball down the field against number 121 in the country in completion percentage, which is the Tennessee Vols, that is the only stat that you can find that makes you think Vanderbilt has a chance in this game, is that Tennessee, or maybe they were 123, because I think they were bottom 10 or bottom 15. They're one of the two in completion percentage allowed. They are 90th, I believe. I looked these up earlier today, and I did not save them. They are 90th in yards allowed. Their defensive secondary, when given time to be picked apart, is picked apart. However, this is the reason I have trouble saying we're going to get there. Tennessee is 29th nationally in sacks. So if they're lighting up Vanderbilt's piss poor O-line, you can't push the ball down the field. But Swan gives you the opportunity to do it. I still think you should force Swan to transfer after the year. I don't think he's the guy. He's a really good kid. I wish him the best. Hope he goes on his own way. That's your only way you have a shot. That bad secondary that Tennessee's got, Swan extends the ball down the field if he starts. It's the only way. If that happens, Vanderbilt has a closer game than anyone thinks. Anyone outside of the state thinks. That's fair.
I have heard something along the lines of what Clark said about giving yourself a chance to punt, but it was worded as you want every drive to end in a kickoff or a punt. That means you either scored or you didn't turn the ball over, basically.
Yep.
And he just butchered that. But I like Tennessee up front.
I hate Tennessee.
I like Tennessee up front to A, stop the run and rush the quarterback, and B, to be able to run the ball well. But Tennessee hasn't had a sack in a while.
Vanderbilt is averaging like 2.3 yards per carry, so stopping the run is not going to be very hard. We didn't even run the ball against Hawaii. So that's really easy. We stopped that ourselves with our scheme. So that part is a check mark right now. Pre-snap, check mark. Run game will not happen. Check it. Yeah. But this doesn't take away from the fact that I hate Tennessee. The color orange is ugly and it sucks. Okay? And I don't know why anyone would put it on. It's the ugliest color I've ever seen. Ever. It sucks. Orange jumpsuits, literally no one wants to put it on. Fashion disaster. Okay? Screw your fashion, Tennessee. 2, Tennessee fans are always living in a false hope of reality. Okay? They think they're better than they are every year. It happens. Somehow, Tennessee fans really thought, and I want all of you to hear this, that Joe Milton, a dude who you had already seen once and you saw at Michigan, was going to come in and be the savior and you're going to get 10 wins. You thought you were going to get 10 wins with Joe Milton. Your fan base sucks. Your stadium, and I really can't even say this.
Okay, that's where I draw the freaking line.
No.
That's where I draw the line. That's where I draw the line. That's where I draw the line. Look behind you. Look in the mirror and look behind you at what y'all got going on.
Also,
you don't talk about the cathedral.
Construction. Tennessee baseball stadium will be doing that during baseball season, which is crazy. I thought only poverty schools did that.
Nobody cares, bro.
Besides the fact, the stadium setup itself is bad. They got to rework it when they rework the stadium. I wanted to throw that in there too. They got to rework it, man. Got to. Just some of the layout itself is not great.
Dude, it's
Tennessee altogether.
You guys have 10 sets of metal bleachers that you can't even fill up. Don't talk about Neyland Stadium.
Listen, first of all, once again, if we're comparing the stadiums, I will be the first person to say we have the worst stadium, maybe in FBS. I hate our stadium. But I'm not in control. That's what sucks, is that I don't get to call the wrecking ball out. If I did, the wrecking ball would have been out. Right? But Tennessee fans, the reason I say this is because they hold Neyland up to this glorious standard. It's not. It's not that. It's not. Now, it's cool and it's allowed. Sure.
That's the point. Nobody cares if you've got this super nice stadium. We're trying to win football games. We don't have to use a nice stadium to recruit. We're loud. We're boisterous. We're redneck. We pack in there. We show up every game and we scream. Yeah, that's the allure of Neyland Stadium. We pee in troughs and we beat you. I've got 2 points. I got to beat y'all's ass this week. I got 2 points.
You beat Vandy? You beat Vandy.
Can I read?
We're celebrating Vandy victories now.
I got a tweet to read. Hold on. Next sports year, this is what will be happening with Vanderbilt athletics. Football team comes back with its first positive record since 2013. I don't think that'll happen. Basketball team has a Sweet 16 appearance. That's already over. And the baseball team will be in Omaha. They lost in the first round last year. That's point number 1. Point 2.
The baseball team hasn't even played a game yet.
I said last year. Point 2 and 10.
Point 2 was what?
Point 2 and 10. 2 wins.
2 wins.
Probably the worst SEC game I've seen. Worst SEC team I've seen in my lifetime.
This is the worst Vanderbilt team I've ever seen in my life. I would actually agree. Some would argue Derek Mason's first year. I think it's easily this year. You had expectations. This is where casual football fans get you right here. Is they look at Vanderbilt right now and they say,
you're saying I'm a casual.
No, listen, if you agree with what I say, then yes, 100% I agree. But if you don't, then no.
Okay, we'll see.
But when someone looks at you and says, you are what your record says you are, tell them they're stupid. That's not true. This team is not a 2-win football team. They're not.
They could be a 0-win football team.
I have seen Vanderbilt teams far worse, like as far as player skill and assets and talent, win more games than this. This is coaching malpractice at its finest. Vanderbilt has positions to upgrade and places to get better, and our defensive line, the guys we have aren't as good as we thought they were going to be. That happens. You're gonna miss, right? Guys aren't gonna pan out. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with you saying we can get better. But this team this was not a 2-win football team. They are, but they weren't.
So what game do you think you should have won that you lost?
Everyone that I predicted preseason, I still think we should have won 100%. With the guys that we have on this team, when I look at it, I can, outside of Missouri, I gave that game to us, I think, on this podcast, and I didn't off the podcast. One of the two. I think I may have predicted Missouri with a loss here. I did. Yeah, I predicted Missouri as a loss on this podcast. And then I predicted that because we were 6-1, I predicted Florida as a win. Florida in the Swamp's also a tall task. Florida's a little bit better. So 1 or 2 dubs maybe switch, but we go bowling no matter what. This was a postseason team at Vanderbilt. I just can't be persuaded any other way. I can't.
How can you say that?
It was like it's just like the way, I guess the best way to say it is that like when you see teams like Butch Jones' team in, what was the year they lost? Was it 2016 where y'all lost to Oklahoma and A&M?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that team.
No, that's 15. No, 15? That wasn't a year. That you're combining 2 years.
Am I combining 2 different years? What was the year y'all started 5-0 with the Georgia Hail Mary?
16.
Okay, 16. Mo, I've got to be talking about 15. 15's the year
15
y'all
you lost to Oklahoma, right? Arkansas, Alabama, and somebody else.
Okay, yeah. That was the year I was talking about, 15. 15. Florida. That team that Butch Jones had ended up going 8-4.
Mm-hmm.
No, 8-4. You ended up going 8-4. That team, every time I look at it and look back, that wasn't an 8-4 team. It wasn't. They were better than that. They were better than 8-4. They just were. It was like, you knew the Oklahoma game they pissed away. The Florida game that year, was that the Hail Mary? Wasn't.
No, that was the 4th and a mile that they got.
4th and a mile long, you let that slide. And don't get me wrong, you can work it the same way the next year with UT's Hail Mary. You can work it both ways, and I get that and respect it being worked both ways. But when you just looked at the team on paper, and then you looked at it, you just said, this team's not an 8-win team. They're better than that. Look at the guys they had. Look what they did in the NFL. Look what they're doing in the NFL. You can point to guys. You can point to individuals. I point around this football team with Vanderbilt, going back to them. I point to C.J. Taylor, who I think is an elite NFL prospect. I point to Will Shepard, elite NFL prospect. We're talking first 4 rounds, in my opinion. Like, these guys are that could go in the first 4 rounds. Not guys that are getting drafted in the 6th, 7th round. No. We're talking about prime draft picks where guys may not play year 1, but they're playing year 2, year 3. And there's more guys that I think are NFL talents. Langston Patterson's another one. Normally, what I'm trying to explain is normally on Vanderbilt teams, I wouldn't say, we've got 5 or 6 dudes that I think really are going to make it in the NFL. On this team, I would argue a few. That's the frustrating part. When I look at this team, they're not what their record says they are. They're just not. And that's the draining part. Vanderbilt, you got me in shambles. I mean, I thought Vanderbilt Athletics had turned around for the better. Now, this may really wake people up. I think it has. With Clark Lee may not be the guy. Stackhouse may not be the guy. Oh, hey, we're really gonna have to expedite money in NIL because we are so much behind everyone else. Things are gonna have to happen, and I think they are going to. But none of this negates the fact of anything that I've said. I hate Tennessee. Yes, Vanderbilt, we have our own load of problems that I will be the first one to dive into, and that's where I think we're different. Tennessee fans are either one of two sides. Everything's glorious. Everything is great. It can get no better. Other side, fire Josh Heupel. There's actually people on Twitter right now. Go pull up your phone, type in Tennessee at Georgia. There are people calling for Josh Heupel's head.
Okay, so you said Tennessee fans are one of those two things.
Yes.
I'm not either one of those things.
Super happy. Right now, I would say you're negative. You're super negative. You don't see any positives.
I did. I took a joyful approach.
Your positive was you as a fan. You and your fellow fans. That was your positive of the game, was you and your fellow fans. You didn't give a single positive about the team. You're in the negative. This team sucked. This year was a failure.
Jalen Wright's really good.
There we go. Positive with some negativity. But yes.
That might be all I can say.
Yes, I hate Tennessee. I'm fine with Britt being negative because I hate Tennessee more than anyone. And at the end of the day, I would actually like to lighten up. I would when I think about my friend Britt and Cody being at the Alabama-Tennessee game, having a blast as UT tears down the goalpost, I would love to be happy for them. Would love to, but UT fans are so unbearable, you can't even be happy for them. That's where I ended.
Let's be real. I want you. It's Thanksgiving this week.
It's time to be real.
It's Thanksgiving this week. And so let's say, I want you to say 3 positives about Vanderbilt. I want you to dig deep and find 3 real
things that
positives.
I'm thankful about Vanderbilt, or 3 positives.
3 positives. Or do whatever you want. Do whatever you want to do.
1, I'm thankful. I'm going to go thankful, positive. I'm going to go number 1, I'm thankful. I'm thankful for the Door Report. Guys, young podcast, getting the young fans together, letting me know, hey, I'm not the only 23-year-old that feels like I want to kill myself when the Vanderbilt Commodores lose a game. That's nice. That's nice to know. I'm thankful for the Door Report and the sad but mentally insane, sad, small group of fans that we have. Very thankful for them. Thing I'm going to be positive about is Vanderbilt has moved some things around in NIL, and they've done some things, and we're going to be more active in the transfer portal, and Lee has been at the forefront of that. I'm thankful for Clark Lee for that, at least. He at least will leave with that going for us. He will leave with that. Clark Lee, thank you for that. Number 3, another positive is Vanderbilt's boosters are awake. And they are going to force hands, hopefully, to do things that Vanderbilt normally wouldn't do, like fire Stackhouse early, like make sure Lee his ass is on the line next week, and make him do things. If AJ Swan starts this week, that's really good on Vanderbilt's part. That means the boosters have tore Lee's ass up. And Lee said, okay, I got to do what I got to do because my ass is on the line now. There's my 3 positives. / thankfulness is...
Okay. 3 things I'm thankful for. Jalen Wright and Squirrel White are both really good. really good men. Dylan Sampson is very good. You've got a lot of guys that can come back next year because it's 2024 and you're still getting COVID-19 years. I'm thankful for COVID-19 years. So that's one thing. Number two, I'm thankful for Cool Beans, a place to fellowship with my brethren, which I've done so 7 times this year. It'll be 8 on Saturday. Real talk, it is. I'm very blessed and thankful to I will be at every home game this year, which that's the first year I've ever done that. That's awesome. And I'm also thankful that Joe Milton is graduating, and I think Nico's going to be really good. I'm thankful for that.
That is crazy to throw that in. It's hard to be thankful when your teams suck, but we're thankful nonetheless. Remember this week as you go about your life that Vanderbilt stopped UT from going to the Sugar Bowl in 2016. Vanderbilt also then won again in 2017, and then we won again. In 2018. And then ever since I got COVID, I don't remember any games after that. So sorry, I couldn't tell you what happened, but just remember that. Also remember, if you're a Tennessee fan, I hate you this week. And although I wish you success and joy, I just personally hate you. And yeah, that's all I have to say about Rivalry Week. I hate Tennessee. It runs deep.
Remember the reason for the season, the original Native Americans that showed us the way, and were treated unfairly.
Facts.
Remember Squanto.
Be thankful.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Good night.
I'm thankful for this
out.
podcast.
I'm thankful for this podcast as well. Britt, we're ending this podcast right now with your. Never mind. I take it back. I'm kidding. We end it right here. Anchor down.
Okay.
To all. Have a good night.
Go Vols.
And I hate
Goodbye.
Tennessee.